What's up, fantasy football people? Welcome back to the fantasy football channel. We are the Schluter Bros. We are here to get you draft ready this offseason, help dominate your annoying league mates. Every week, we're going to go through each NFL roster and get you prepped for your draft. What is up, Adam? What's on tap over there?
What's up, Kyle? Happy Sunday, man. How we doing?
Doing well, doing very well. Happy to be back. Going to
It is.
ATL, talk about the Falcons.
Yes, we are. It's good to be back. We had a little hiatus there. We had some traveling in. We had some drinking in there, but we are back in action and better than ever.
Oh,
But
yeah.
as you said, we're going to the ATL today, which I love. We got a fun young team in the Falcons. We're going to break down all the relevant players today. We're going to go over their O line, and we're also going to start with two rising stars that we think are some good snags here for your drafts. Without
Uh,
further ado, should we get into her?
Let's do it. Just a little bit of news, drama. Brock Purdy got paid. He got a
He got
5 year deal.
big old stack of cash.
He got a 5 year deal. He kind of, I believe it was like just under the big boys for terms of the contract dollars. 265 is what I have here. But I think there was some kind of stipulation where it was a little less.
Yeah, I mean, those great quarterbacks, they're getting about 50 mil a year these days. And if you're really great, maybe 55, 60. But it's usually about the going bag if you're an elite quarterback.
Which I don't think he is. But
You know, well, he's got a little less weapons this year with Debo gone. So, we'll see how he can do with Ayuk and Ricky P, and we'll see if he can kind of be deserving of that money.
well, congrats to Brock. That's a big jump from his what was it, like a $900,000 rookie deal he was operating with because he was a
Yeah.
late pick. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he
So
went from a low end apartment to an elite cathedral.
I bet he's out there celebrating right now. He's in Las Vegas.
I hope so. He does kind of seem like more of a down to earth guy, though. Maybe he's just putting it in the stock market and keeping his cash on the sidelines. Who knows?
Maybe he's got to buy himself something nice after that.
Someone else got paid. Your boy, one of your
There,
boys.
Derrick Henry got a 2 year, $30 million deal extension, 25 million guaranteed. I mean, I think that's great for him. He's a
I mean,
guy that just continues to go out there and prove it every year, despite all the haters about his age.
for real. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I don't think there's ever been a 31-year-old running back paid this much money. 15 mil a year for a 31-year-old running back. That's insane. Derrick Henry is defying all aging and physiological aspects of a running back, and he is just an animal.
Yep, yep. And it's just a great fit for him in Baltimore.
2 years, that puts him to 33 on a 15 mil per year contract. He'll be 33 when that's up. That is old.
Yeah, I mean, I had him in Dynasty. We redrafted. We had 5 keepers, and
Yep.
he was a player I did not keep because of his age, but I
Yep.
definitely thank him for his time. And he's had a phenomenal career, and I hope he goes as long as he can, man.
For real. I mean, just seeing what he did in Baltimore last year, how much better do you think his career would have been if he wasn't stuck in Tennessee?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, let's do our little juices flowing segment here today. We're going to talk about 2 players we are rising on. Go
I'm
ahead,
swooping in.
Adam.
Swooping in. Someone I had some stock in last year who is an absolute freak show, and that is the Detroit Lions, Jameson Williams. Okay. He is a first round pick in 2022. This is what I love the most about him. Last year, he had only 58 catches on 91 targets. And in those 58 catches, he had over 1,000 yards. That is an insane yards per catch ratio. This guy is a speed stud. He's going to get better again this year. His big playmaking ability is through the roof. I love this cat. I am high on him. I reach for him in just about all my drafts. I reached for him in our dynasty draft that we just had, and I don't have one bit of remorse about it. I love this cat.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm just a little lower on the Detroit offense after the coaching changes
Just with the coaches.
as you are. And I also have Amon-Ra on my dynasty roster. So
That makes sense.
but I get it. I see it. He's very talented, very athletic.
Mm-hmm.
I am
What you got?
rising. I am rising on a player that I just we already did the Chicago Bears, and I don't think we gave him enough credit for a potential breakout player this
Sure.
year. Rome Odunze with the Bears. Going into a year 2, a lot of guys have a big year 2 season, and he did well last year. He did not have a great, catch per target rate. They got rid of Keenan Allen. There's a lot of receptions and yards and production in that offense for him. They drafted Luther Burden. I just could see there's a realm where Rome has a very good year, breakout year, 1,000-yard year. But with those other three guys, it is a lot of mouths to feed. They do have to have a lot of things that click, but he's certainly talented enough. So I'm rising a little bit on him. I think we probably, we're a little low on him.
You think we did him a little dirty? Well,
I think we did him a little dirty.
I saw you reach for him in Dynasty. So
no, I didn't. Somebody did, but I didn't.
Oh, you didn't get. Oh, you're right.
I didn't take him.
I know you. No. I know you did a lot of homework on him, though.
Yep. Because all the projections, he was the top player that was going to fall to me.
Sure.
But I took somebody else. I don't remember now.
CMC.
Yes. And there was a guy before him that I took at the turn. I don't remember who.
That's all right.
But yeah, I didn't expect CMC to also be there. It wasn't my plan, but I took the shot on him for where it was. I mean, technically that would have been like this 7th round.
Sure. Yeah, no. Yep.
Because we kept 5. Yep. So it was a 2nd round. So he'd been like taking CMC in a dynasty. Anyways, moving on. So we're going to start getting into the Atlanta Falcons right now. Their free agency moves so far this offseason. Nothing exciting, especially compared to some of the other teams that we've done. Yeah. It's basically all just depth, backup, team building players. Really nothing at all for fantasy that I see here yet. Easton Stick, backup quarterback. They still have Kirk Cousins as a backup quarterback. From my understanding, Kirk's agent did him a pretty solid deal where how it was structured, and it's really hard for the Falcons to trade him without.
The dude's getting paid either way, whether he plays or not. That boy's getting paid.
Exactly. So then a couple wide receivers, Jamal Agnew, Kadero Hodge, 2 additional tight ends, an additional offensive lineman, 4 additional offensive linemen. You can break those down as all free agency signings. And then they signed some undrafted free agents as well. A running back, 2 wide receivers, another tight end, 2 offensive line. So just depth, practice squad, who's going to make the team, and backups really there. Taylor Heineke did get traded away. Mm-hmm. And then they lost Rondell Moore to the Vikings, another tight end to the Niners, Ross Dwelly, and a lineman to the Bears. So really not much for fantasy to talk about there.
Yeah.
It's honestly similar with the draft picks, but I'll let you take those away.
Absolutely. The Falcons over the past couple of years have been adding young talent to their offense, and that's starting to pay some dividends. And this year, as we saw with last year, their defense stinks. Okay, their defense stinks.
100% pivot.
Their pass defense is atrocious. So what they did this year, well, they went linebacker, defensive end, safety, offensive tackle. So as you can tell, they felt those vibes of their defense stinking because they went with Jalen Walker in the 1st round as a linebacker, James Pierce, who's a defensive end, in the round 1 as well. Then they went Xavier Watts, a safety, Billy Bowman Jr., another safety, and then Jack Nelson, offensive tackle, in the 7th round. So they're trying to shore up their defense, which is exactly what they should be doing. If they want to make a push, I think they need to do some more free agency acquisitions on the defensive side of the ball, especially in that secondary with some defensive backs. But nonetheless, that was their draft picks this year. Rolling, you got anything to say about those?
I like the 2 linebacker guys they got.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are some athletic guys.
It reminds me of the moves the Rams made last year.
Sure. I mean, boy, did that work out for the Rams. All right. Well, let's get into the fun stuff here. Atlanta ATL overview. Last year, NFC South, 8-9 record. Okay, secondary only to the Buccaneers, who went 10-7. This is a very winnable division for them. And if Penix can do his job, I think they could take this division. Their rushing rank was 10th, 130.5 rushing yards per game. We know they have a lethal rushing attack with Bijuan. And their passing rank, which I was very surprised to see, was 239 yards per game, which puts them 5th in the NFL for passing rank. I did not expect that when I was doing the homework on these bad boys there. Kyle, question for you. Does this team have enough juice to take the NFC South in 2025 season?
I think it does, actually.
Why is that?
I think it's all going to hinge on the play of Penix.
Sure.
I mean, we all know about everybody else on the running Bijuan, etc. The receiver, Drake London, Mooney. They're talented enough. Their offensive line is strong enough. I think the defense and the quarterback play are going to be those components. And I'm not very high on the Saints. I also am not as high on the Buccaneers this year. So I think they could take this division.
The Buccaneers are a rock solid team, and then Carolina at the bottom. I think Bryce Young will get another year better, but they're still not. They're not going to be playoff ready with that roster yet. So to your point, yes, Atlanta does. I think.
Somebody's got to win it.
Right.
I don't think any of these teams are going to compete for a championship, but I do think the Falcons can win this division.
They can. I think the Buccaneers will take this one again just because of how well they've been playing on both sides of the ball and how Baker's playing lights out, and he brings that aura and energy to that team. But we'll see. We'll see what Mr. Penix can do. With that said, that's a great transition. Why don't you lead us off with Michael?
Yeah, let's get into the fantasy relevant players. Start off with the quarterback, Michael Penix. Early ESPN projected rankings have him at QB 23.
Not pretty.
Not pretty. They're projecting him for 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, 12 picks, and then another 100 yards, 2 touchdowns with his legs.
Yep.
And I don't know that we saw enough last year. Kirk Cousins dominated the quarterback position last year for the team. He came in at the end of the year in the last 3 games to start. Well, you can go over those statistics you have here.
Yeah.
I do think what we saw of him in those games was good. Right? Like he went out there, he proved he can be an NFL quarterback. He's got great arm talent. He's not a rushing quarterback. He's not going to get you a lot of rushing points. So for fantasy, for me, I a little bit lower on him than that because I like those rushing points. Otherwise, the talent around him is very high, right? With the receivers, the running backs, and even the tight end if Pitts shows up this year.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's my take on him. I think there's a realm where he is around QB 20, but he could be a guy that could really blow this out of the water with his team. However, I was very also surprised with the 5th passing yards per game, 5th ranked.
Yeah.
But Kirk Cousins, he's a guy that he throws every year. He throws for a lot of yards, right?
Yeah.
And it does surprise me with the amount that these guys want to run the ball. Like
for sure.
I still think of this as a run first team with their offensive line, with the coaching and the running back. So I'm very surprised with that number.
Yeah, I am too. But I think with the defenses knowing that it's a run first offense and having to focus so much on Bijan, that's what opens up their passing game. You know what I mean? It's like because you cannot let Bijan get open, and you cannot let him get any open space because if he does, the dude's gone. Mm-hmm. So I think you have to pay so much attention to him. It allows for some single coverage, some things with these receivers that allows for that passing attack to be its thing. With that said, kind of echoing what you talked about here, when Penix was drafted, it was considered to be one of the worst draft picks 2 years ago because they drafted him 8th overall, and they just signed Kirk to a massive bag. And it turns out after Kirk started throwing the ball to the other team only that that it was a great pick because they put him in with the last 3 weeks of the season and they said, we're done with Kirk. We're moving on and we're gonna look to the future here. And in those first 3 weeks, he went 1-2. He beat the Giants. He lost to the Commanders in overtime and lost to the Carolina Panthers in overtime. The numbers aren't great, but they're not bad. There's something to build off of. He had over 200 yards in the first game, 223 in the second game, and 312 yards in the third game. Granted, there was some overtime play in there. First game, 0 picks, then one pick each game. And then he had 0 touchdowns in his first game, 1 in the second game, and 2 touchdowns in his third game. So there was some improvement there. Every week he played, he got a little bit better. He's got to work on his completion percentage a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see what this cat can do. He's going to have the team on his side now, and it's his ship to lead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited just to see it. Honestly, one quarterback leagues, he's a backup or on the waiver wire for me
for sure.
2 quarterback leagues, I like him as a quarterback too.
Do you?
Yep, as a quarterback too, I'm fine with that.
Yep, I scooped him up in our 2 QB dynasty league. I scooped him up. He was best available, so I'm riding him this year. I want him to do well for sure.
Yeah, he's young. I like him for dynasty. He's got good weapons around him, good offensive line. We'll see how he
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
Okay, and speaking of his weapons, Drake London, um, early ESPN projections have him at wide receiver 10. He finished as wide receiver 5 last year in PPR, 6 in standard, higher than I thought. I was
Way
kind of
higher.
surprised when I saw that. He had over 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns last year. Their projections for this year are 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns, so 30 less fantasy points on the season. I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to lay it out as he's projected at wide receiver 10 and who's going before him right now. And then you
Hmm.
can jump in here.
Yeah.
So right now, currently, if you were to draft, you got Chase, Jefferson, Nico, CD, Puka, Brian Thomas Jr., AJ Brown, Malik Neighbors, then Drake London.
Okay.
So are you drafting him at that 10th spot or are you higher or lower?
I am higher. This guy, especially in PPR, because this guy's an absolute catch machine. I am definitely taking Drake before AJ Brown and before Malik Neighbors. The reason why before AJ Brown is the Eagles don't always need to throw the ball. They run so well. Sometimes AJ Brown is left for dead in games because they're doing so well and they're up so high. They don't need to throw him the ball. They don't need AJ Brown to win games. And then with Malik Neighbors, there's a big fat question mark at quarterback there. I do think Jackson Dart leads this team at some point this year. And I think he will be a great quarterback, and that will help Malik into the future. But in the meantime, Drake is a
Russell.
much better receiver than these guys. And one thing I love about Drake, I like to do a little sports betting in the NFL year. And Drake is a PPR machine. And because of that, I oftentimes bet on his catching over last year. Sometimes it was at 6.5 catches, and sometimes it was at 7.5 catches. And I always fought for the over on that, and he hit it most of the time. So if you ever see his catches at 6.5 on DraftKings or whatever it may be, bet the over on that because that bad boy catches a lot of balls, and he paid for some nice dinners for me because of that.
Yeah. Okay.
100 catches last year, 100 catches, 1,200 yards.
I like it. I think there's an argument to be made for him at wide receiver 10 on any format. I really think it's just where is the upside around with the guys around him and the quarterback play. How much do you trust it going into this year? How
Sure, and
much
there's
did Michael Penix prove it for you last year, or did
yeah.
he leave it to be desired?
Yeah. And when he played with Penix last year, he got more targets and more catches every week where they vibed every week a little bit better and better. I think the last week he had like 8 or 10 catches on like 14 targets or something like that. So he definitely got better with Penix, and they have a whole offseason to continue to get better. And he's my wide receiver number 8, as we kind of just
Okay.
discussed there. He's my number 8.
Okay. Well, that makes sense why you're a little higher on him. I like it.
Yep. Yep.
Next up, Darrell Mooney. He was at the movies this week, and I ran into him.
Have another. My goodness. Drinking without me on Sunday? Come on, man.
Cheers.
You gotta let a brother know.
Okay. All right. Cheers.
Darnell Mooney, I mean, went in round 12. He's going around. I mean, projected wide receiver. What's that?
I just mocked with him. Went wide receiver or in round 12. The guys around him. I just like the guys around him better. So the guys that are being drafted around him right now are Keon Coleman, Ricky Pearsall, Jacoby Myers, Luther Burden, Stephon Diggs. I think I like most of those guys better. Mooney had almost 1,000 yards last year and 5 touchdowns.
Impressive. Yeah.
So, I mean, but that was Kirk Cousins throwing him the ball.
A lot of it, yep.
So, I mean, I do
yards.
think that's pretty much probably his upside, his ceiling in this offense.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And with how much they run the ball in this offense and him being a wide receiver 2 to an elite tight end like Drake London, it's hard to want to reach for this cat at all. But
so depending on the draft, I don't mind him for a late round bench player. Maybe he's flexible on certain weeks, but you're really going to have to see how it goes with Penix.
Yeah.
I would just rather have other guys.
Right. I mean, the guys going around him, Ricky Pearsall, who's going to have a big leap this year. Jacoby Myers could have a big leap again. Luther Burden, Stephon Diggs. Well, we'll see if Diggs even has a team by the time this season starts. But did you see any of that stuff?
Not
with
yet.
Diggs?
What happened now?
Diggs was on a boat partying with some girls, had a bunch of girls hanging around him, and then he busts out some pink-looking drugs, and they put it on camera and posted it online. Like, what are you doing, dude?
This is why we call them the Divas. This is classic wide receiver off-season stuff.
Put the camera away, you dumbass. Like, come on, man. With that said, the coach did back him up. The Patriots
What did
coach.
he say? It was Pepto Bismol or what?
No, he was basically like,
Did a tummy ache?
He was like, yeah, no, dude, we trust our guys to make good decisions. Anything we talk about, we'll talk behind closed doors. And he was basically just like, it's okay, but who knows? But Mike Vrabel doesn't mess around with that stuff a lot.
I was going to say, with that coaching staff and historically in New England, you don't hear a lot about that stuff.
My guess is he's on thin ice now, but we'll see. We'll see.
All right, the other guy they got on the roster right now, Ray McCloud. He had almost 700 yards last year, 1 touchdown. Not really fantasy relevant for me. And in most leagues, he'll just be a waiver wire free agent guy. Yep. Moving on to the tight end, Kyle Pitts. What a very talented, like the potential just he's got, honestly, I think he has like tight end 1 potential, to be top 5 on any given fantasy format. But his best year was his rookie year where he had over 1,000 yards. Since then, he just hasn't done much, and he's been very disappointing for everybody in fantasy. He's still only 24 years old, 600 yards and 4 touchdowns last year.
This is a challenging prospect to talk about for many, many reasons. And you know that anyone who's had stock in him before, they are probably out on him now because they've been burned, because you have to pick him higher in the draft, and he hasn't performed to where he's been drafted. And he absolutely has the talent. He absolutely has the athletic ability. This dude's a freak show. He's 24 years old, entering his 5th year. This is a challenging prospect because he's going to go higher in the drafts than he should, just due to his athletic ability and his ability overall.
His upside potential.
His upside is there. One thing I like the most about Kyle Pitts this year is the fact that we have a young quarterback, and young quarterbacks like to throw to the tight end because it's easier routes. It's usually coverage with the linebacker on them, so better chance to not get it picked, so on and so forth. That's what I like most about Kyle Pitts this year, outside of what everyone already knows, that he's a freak and he has the ability. Where are you drafting this cat? He's in a league.
He's also battled some injuries too.
He did season 2.
I was reading he's even got a little bit right now that he's kind of dealing with. Last year, he finished as tight end 12 in standard scoring. Early projections are tight end 17. So, if you can get him late, I'm fine with him as a flyer. I would be fine as long as I'm considering a good backup, or it's a league where there's going to be some tight ends available that are like in his same range. I'm fine to take a flyer on him and see.
Projected tight end 17 is kind of a slap in the face. Clearly, ESPN thinks that he is going to only regress more, which I am surprised by. Here's his last 4 years with catches: 68, 28, 53, 47. In yards, it's 1,000, 300, which he was injured that year, 600, 600. That's not good enough, man. Touchdowns, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not good enough.
To your point, I think he is one of the best high risk, high reward tight ends you can draft.
100%.
He does have a high ceiling, but obviously, look out below. He could have a bad performance again. But tight end 12 as a finish last year, and you got to think he can at least do better than that this year. So, and they're projecting him at tight end 17. So it really depends on where he's going in your draft.
Yeah.
But I would be happy to take a flyer on him for the right price and see how it plays out.
Yep. And to be more specific on that, I think he absolutely finishes within top 10 of a tight end. So I'm higher on him than most. He has the ability to be a top 5 tight end. He has the ability in the right team to do that. Will he do that? Probably not, because he likes to disappoint. But I do think top 10 is well within his grasp, and I think he finishes top 10 this year. And I say that because I drafted him 4th or 5th pick in our dynasty.
So that's like the 9th or 10th round.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, and I think in that range, I would be fine with that as well.
Yep.
But he wouldn't be a player I would be necessarily reaching for.
Yeah, too much disappointment.
I like him for the right price.
Yep. Hopefully Penix takes him to the stratosphere. I'm hoping 1,000 yards, 80 catches, and and
he's proven he can do that.
He has.
And prior to Kirk Cousins, he's had bad quarterbacks. So
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, maybe it's just a Cousins thing, and they didn't have the greatest relationship. I mean, there were a few whispers too about possible trades for him. They don't have really anybody behind him that's a good pass catching tight end, so I don't think that would happen.
Well, I did a little quick. 2021 was his best year, his rookie year. We had over 1,000 yards. You want to guess who was throwing to him then?
Who?
Matty Ice, Matt Ryan.
Okay, so that was his probably best quarterback play.
And then the poor guy,
1,000 yards.
The following year, had to deal with Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder, and his performance fell off a cliff. And to your point, he hasn't had a quarterback since then that's elite or even top 10. So maybe we stop pointing the finger at Pitts and we start pointing at that quarterback position, and we'll see what Mr. Penix can do for him.
I think factor that in. Although I would say I would have liked to have seen better performance with Kirk Cousins because he's a pretty decent passing quarterback. For fantasy. And I guess it'll just be hopefully they can, pick up a better relationship here and build on it. And then you have upside with Penix.
Absolutely. All right. Anything else on Mr. Pitts?
Nope.
Have a year, buddy. Have a year. Let's move on to one of the fanciest cats in the league.
Bijuan Robinson. I mean, for me, honestly, this is first or second player off the board for anything 1 QB draft. That's probably where I have him. Last year, he had over 1,400 yards, 14 touchdowns, and he had 60 catches as well.
Love that. Absolutely love that. And with a young quarterback in there, I think that's going to continue.
Yeah. So pretty much one quarterback league. I like him as first or second pick. For me, it's honestly probably first overall, unless it's PPR, then maybe you take Chase, Jefferson type thing.
Sure.
But I like him.
So
one off the board.
I mean, with these drafts this year, and I'm glad you said that. Basically, it's Saquon or Bijan. Who you taking first?
Bijan.
And it's kind of okay. And a couple months ago, I thought for sure it was Saquon based on the fact that the Eagles have such a better offensive line with running the football.
The Falcons have a good offensive line.
They have a good offensive line, but the Eagles have the best rushing offensive line in the NFL. So it's going to be interesting to see how draftees kind of do that this year, because it's going to be those two when, if you have the second or third pick, who are you taking out of the two? And you obviously said Bijan. I think talent-wise, Bijan blows Saquon away. He is just, when you see this dude cut and make people miss, you are like, that is next level. That is godlike agility and ability. I
just think he's younger. Sure. And he hasn't had big injuries. Saquon's older. He's had some big injuries. It's like all of the probabilities would favor Bijan. It's a great offensive fit, great offensive line. They're gonna run the ball. They're gonna do play action, and he even catches balls.
Right.
So I don't think there's a question. This is who you would take with the best running back right now. Some people might argue Genty for the talent, but it's rookie, it's unproven. So for me, Bijan is number one running back off the board, and it should be, in my opinion, for everybody.
Yep, and the big question mark after the first year with Bijan was they split carries with him and Algier so evenly.
It didn't matter.
He outperformed for sure, but they didn't give him enough carries. And then last year they cleaned that up because he had 300 carries last year. Yeah. So they really were they listened to the crowd. They heard the fans' complaints, and they said, all right, let's feed this animal. And they did.
So number one off my board for running backs. And then next, Tyler Algier, the guy behind him. Early projections are RB50. He's strictly a handcuff for me. I don't draft him unless it's deep and I have Robinson or I want to handcuff it. But I don't think I don't think Algier has anywhere near the talent as Robinson. So take that for what you will. I don't know what your thoughts are on him.
No, and it's not a knock on Algier. Algier is a great running back. Before Bijan was there, Algier produced. He showed his ability. He is a great running back. He was drafted in the 5th round a couple of years ago. But to your point, when you have someone like Bijan in front of you, there's just not much you can do about it. Now, on the flip side of that, if heaven forbid something happens to Bijan, Algier's status gets elevated a lot more than a second running back on most other teams.
Yeah, he'll be a free agent.
He is a very high-end handcuff because if Robinson goes down, Algier can take that workload. He can perform, and it's a run-first offense. So great handcuff, and if God forbid anything happens to Bijan, you got a great fill in there with Algier. Outside of that, to your point, late-round insurance flyer for sure.
Yeah, I mean, in like a dynasty or a really deep league.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
I
I
mean,
mean,
he's still a
there's
young back.
yeah, he is. He's just nowhere near as talented as Bijan. He doesn't have the upside, and I think the reason he was as good when he was, previously and how he's performed is because of the offensive line.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
Um,
we good on
anything
them?
else? Yeah, I think we are good on them.
Okay. I'm going to touch on the coaching. So Raheem Morris, head coach, previously served as head coach of the Tampa Bay Bucks from 2009, 2011, interim coach for the Falcons in 2020, assistant coach in college as well. And he spent most of his career on the defensive side of the ball, especially with like defensive backs. So it kind of makes sense that all of a sudden now that they are switching to all these rookie picks on the defensive side of the ball, bringing Raheem Morris, like
Yeah.
that seems to be how they want to switch their plan here. But they also do have a lot of the offensive pieces there already, and they took
Yep.
Penix last year as their ideal future quarterback for a long time here. Um, Zach Robinson was a new offense coordinator last year. He's a former quarterback himself. He started in 2019 as an assistant quarterback coach for the Rams, and then his role kind of expanded there. So classically, it's another McVay coaching
Disciple.
disciple, however you want to say that.
Yep.
Um, but really, the game plan was run the ball, which is what they should do.
Yeah.
I was very surprised with the amount of passing they did last year under Kirk Cousins, and it eventually hurt them when Kirk Cousins performed poorly, especially toward the second half of the year before he got benched.
Yeah.
But still, game plan is going to be run the ball, lean on your strong offensive line, then do play action, and then hit those big body targets. Drake London, Kyle Pitts is how I see this offense in 2025.
Yep.
Why don't you get us into those big body offense linemen now?
Absolutely. All right. As we said earlier, fifth in passing, 10th in rushing rank for this offense. This offensive line is excellent. Their offensive line overall ranks as 10th. From left to right, it reads Jake Matthews, Matthew Bergeron, Ryan Newsel, Chris Lindstrom, and Caleb McGarry. This offensive line, again, did a great job last year. They're seventh in sack rate with a 5% sack rate. Their pressure rate against the blitz was phenomenal. It was fifth in pressure rate there as well. The Falcons did throw the ball very quickly last year, especially with Kirk Cousins being older, and they didn't want to see him run around the backfield and get murdered.
He couldn't.
Therefore, he also could not. He looked like he needed a crutch out there, but that's besides the point. They throw it very quickly. This offensive line is excellent with both the pass and the rush. There's no real question marks on this offensive line. And like we said, they can handle the blitz well, which I know a lot of teams are going to be blitzing Penix, and they're going to be testing his ability to handle that pressure. And the offensive line is going to take care of him on that. Great offensive line. Not much else to say about it. Any comments there that you have?
No, you could even make a case, honestly, for it being a little bit better than 10th, in my opinion. This is one of the strongest offensive lines, especially when it comes to running the ball.
100%.
So, and that's the combination between this offensive line, this coaching staff, and Bijan's talents, why he's the number one running back on my board this year.
100%. And their ability to lean on the run is going to help Penix so much. It's going to take so much pressure off him, which is going to really help him develop this year. So I think they are set up in a perfect position to have a great year, to help all these young specialty players get even better, and really to take Penix to the next level.
Yeah, so I think it's a 8 to 10 win team, and I think there's a case that they win this division personally.
Yep.
I'll give you my final fantasy thoughts. Bijan, number one running back this year for fantasy. Drake London, I'm fine drafting ahead as ADP, wide receiver 10. You can make a case for above or a little less. I like him at 10. And then Pitts would be a late round flyer. What did we say? Like the 9 to 10 rounds. You could take a flyer on him. I'm fine with that.
Yep.
And then Penix, I like in a 2 QB league. That's it for me on fantasy for the Falcons. You?
With Pitts, I'd be happy with getting him in the 8th round, a little higher, a little bit of a reach on him, but I like Pitts there. Bijan, get him on your team. If you got the first overall pick, don't be shy to take him, just because watching him is so much fun. It's so much fun watching him cut and make defenders look stupid. Love him. And Drake London, wide receiver 8 on my board. Just a PPR stud. This is a fun offense. It's a young offense. get those 3 players on your team because they're good. They're good stuff. Other than that, it was fun touching on the ATL today.
For sure. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in this week on the Fantasy Football Channel. We'll see you next week as we move through each NFL roster.
Absolutely.